extension is added on to the time remaining. So if you've got 10 seconds left when you add an extension, it goes to 55.
Yeah.
It doesn't go back to just 45 like it was last year.
Okay.
That's all going to be on the screen up there. The extensions, because they're so small on the screen, we're actually going to put them on here as well, so you can tell whether you've got an extension or not.
It's one per frame, yeah?
One per frame.
Yeah.
And that's it then. Okay. Would you like to light, gentlemen?
Yeah, yeah.
First frame. Tom Cousins to break. Time running.
What a game we have lined up for you here. Good morning and welcome back. This is the 11 o'clock winners round 2 session. And this one between Tom Cousins and Jake McCartney. This one was voted for above the Jordan Shepherd Phil Harrison game, which incidentally you can watch across on table 11. Phil and Jordan were leading the way, leading the charge overnight, and then early this morning all the Australians came online and voted Jake and Tom across the line. Well, a loose one early doors from Jake. I think the referee just asking Jake to take his seat between shots when he probably just wants to just stand up and stretch out a little bit. Just get rid of maybe those few early nerves. Great to see Jake on this stream table. Probably fairly new to the many of the UK viewers. You may not have seen Jake play before. You'll obviously recognise Tom, but let me tell you, Jake is most definitely some player. Australian number 1. And this should be a great game. Tom Cousins always seems to carry the weight on his shoulders, the weight of expectation. Everyone expects him to cruise through just about every game he plays. We know what kind of talent he is. Certainly when he came to this table, he had a very difficult layout. He's making this look very simple. He's going to have a tough game on his hands here. just landed the wrong angle. I think he's finished virtually straight. And that's no good. Tried to force the cue ball across to clear the path past the black for the yellow to bottom corner, and he is snookered on both of these yellows. Going to try the cushion first route. Great effort. But had he potted it, he would have been in all kinds of trouble again with the last yellow. And now it brings Jake to the table with another chance in this frame. Nothing particularly easy as an opener, unless actually maybe that red passes the black. I think it does, looking at that camera angle. From this angle, it doesn't look for the world that it passes into the middle. It clearly does from that other angle. So Jake just trying to work out his route.
10 seconds.
Or maybe it doesn't pass. He's having to take a... good stuff, using the rules to his advantage. So that just being a loss of turn shot. Tom approaches the table. I think Jake would have been looking to play a snooker. Clever little shot there, and one of the first times that we've actually seen the rules over the last couple of days being played. So Jake showing a good knowledge of the rules. Has he left a double? I think the red's in the way of the double. It had indeed, but he left a big pocket at the bottom. What a great shot that is from Tom. Yeah, it was a bit loose from Jake. I think he played the right shot, but he should have had that cue ball tied up. So early honours to Tom Cousins. He takes the lead at 1-0. Lots and lots of other games in the arena. Just been in there having a chat to some of the players. Rob Chilton is playing Lee Clough. Rob currently has suffering from a bit of an ear infection, which he says is affecting him a bit, but it's, he's got over the worst of it. Neil Raybone just started his game against Gary Clark. Mark Boyle has a tough one on his hands against Darren McVicker, who took out his fellow countryman in Liam Dunster yesterday. Darren has won the first frame, and he's 1-0. Alex Bailey is playing Orrin Hughes. He's currently 1-0. Declan Brennan 1-0 against Lydon De Bono. Ronan McCarthy 1-0 against Carl Boys. Phil Harrison and Jordan Shepherd you can watch on table 11. They're currently 1 apiece. Ryan Pisani 1-0 against Rob Warren. Liam White 1 each against Sean Chipperfield. Gareth Hibbert just starting against John Rowe. John McAllister's won the first frame against Jez Graham. Jack Whelan's won the first frame against Richard Gifford. Jamie Burnett and Steve Petty 1 each. Don Cooney 1-0 against Carl O'Donoghue, and Scott Gillespie, Callum Singleton getting underway. So, those are the 16 matches currently underway. We will keep you updated with those scores, but if you want to follow them yourself, please do so at qscore.com. Some great games in amongst those, and to name but a few, I mean, Gareth Hibbert against John Rowe, Phil Harrison against Jordan Shepherd, Ronan McCarthy against Carl Boys. Some really good matchups there. Scott Gillespie against Callum Singleton is another one to watch out for. joined in the commentary box by Gareth Hibbett. Good morning, Gareth.
That'll be Gareth Potts, mate, won't it?
God, I can't even believe I just said that. I've just been talking to Gareth Hibbett in the bar. I'm sorry. It's Gareth Potts. I'm on autopilot today. I've just been talking to Gareth Hibbett in the bar. There you go. That's the first one of the day.
Hello, everyone. Anyway, Gareth Hibbett is playing out in the arena, so I can assure you it isn't him.
I just mentioned his name as well. He's playing John Rowe. What a mistake of the maker. I mean, you don't even look similar, do you? So.
So this is the first match that I've commentated on of this event, and this is the first time that I've ever watched Jake play. But the table looks great with this new colour, with the contrast of the cloth. I think it makes the ball stand out more than I think any other colour combination. And as I said, I've never watched Jake even hit a ball before, I don't think, and obviously he's travelled a long way from Australia to play in this tournament. He only arrived the day before. I think he only arrived on the Thursday afternoon, so not easy travelling that far with the jet lag.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a factor. I mean, we were just talking to Chris Manning about a similar thing, and all the travel that he's been doing recently definitely can play a part.
Yeah, and I don't think that Jake's I presume he's familiar with these rules, but the last frame and the last shot that he played, in that last frame sort of tells me that maybe he's not completely comfortable with the rules, because yes, he played the right shot in playing the red onto the yellow, but I think he could have potted the red into the middle first shot and then played it second shot and left the cue ball on the side rail, which would have left Tom snookered.
Yeah, probably too overeager to play the shot.
You don't have to play it first shot. You can pot a ball or two first and make sure you get the cue ball in the right place. It doesn't have to be played first shot as long as you get the cue ball in the right place. That's the objective. I feel that a good start against Tom for anybody is important, but especially for someone like Jake. I think the start of the match is very important to him. I think if he gets off to a bad start, Tom's a very, very good front runner, and I think he'll see this match run away from him quite quickly if he lets him get too far ahead. Slightly underscrewed that, so may have to go twice across, or may choose to just dab it in and hold it, but did underscrew it, and he was concerned of nipping it back too far on this quick cloth and snookering himself, so he's slightly underdone it. And because of that, he's missed it. He had to go twice across.
Wry smile on Tom's face.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't miss that, but I don't think that was the bad shot. I think the shot before was the bad one. He tried to screw back sort of maybe 6 inches and he only came back a couple of inches. Goes without saying that these sort of finishes are ones that he has to be getting all against anybody, but against somebody as good as Tom, who is arguably the best player in the world, certainly one of them. Gone the right way about this finish, leaving the ball over the middle to the last to drop up for the black. Just shook his head there because he wanted to be straight, and because, as you can see from that camera angle, he's come a little bit too far. I think he should maybe look at screwing on and off the side cushion now to create the angle. He wants to be where the line is. He wants to be anywhere to the right-hand side of that line. Anywhere to the left-hand side's no good. As you can see there, he's played it with a load of right-hand side and just okay. Yeah, he
just
can
got the angle.
Just got the angle. He can just stun across. In 8-ball, what you're trying to do every shot is trying to leave the natural angle. Well, he thought he didn't, so he's left the double.
Very makeable, these doubles, aren't they? You don't expect to see the players miss at this level.
Yeah, they are. The pockets are obviously playing big because it's a new cloth. But having said that, the cloth does slide a lot. So my advice would be don't play doubles unless you really have to, just because the cloth is so slippy. Like, there you go.
Wow.
Oh, that's unforgivable.
It really is.
And as I was saying, the shot before, Nick, when you're playing 8-ball, anybody that's playing 8-ball, you always try to leave the natural angle. That's the first objective. So if you always leave the cue ball in a place where the angle is natural to get onto your next ball, you don't have to manipulate the cue ball in any way. You can just concentrate on potting the ball, and the cue ball just sort of takes care of itself, and it's all just about pace control then of how hard you hit the cue ball rather than trying to manipulate it into a place. And so if you can always leave the natural angle, then it does just make the game so much simpler.
Did I see you recently having a bit of a foray back into English 8-ball? Did I see you playing the Frenchman, weren't you, recently?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. For some reason, I had a lot of messages about that. What it was that match was over 3.5 years ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and I had a lot of messages because they put it out in France as though it was live.
Yeah, I was going to say, it appeared to be live on the screen.
Yeah, they put it out as though it was live. I don't know exactly what they were doing with that, to be honest. But no, that was just an exhibition match I played against Christophe in a casino, and it was, I think it was 3.5 years ago.
Oh.
So they'd never done nothing with the match since then. And to be honest, I'd forgot about it. And then all of a sudden it just popped up that it was live. And so, yeah, I don't know exactly what the plan was with that, but as you could probably tell by the way I played, I wanted to forget about it.
Yeah. The Strachan Superfine cloth, and that's a cloth that you see in front of you. It's the new Premier cloth from Strachan that's been developed in conjunction with this series, and it's available in the grey that you see, or it's available in green, and it really is a great cloth. The feedback on it has been fantastic. It's fast, it's reactive, responsive, and really lovely to play on. I managed to play a few shots on it this morning, which is the first time I've had a chance to, and it's just lovely.
And Jake here has got a... Oh no, sorry, it's just Tom at the table. Sorry, I got the wrong way around. Jake. Oh, it is Jake. Sorry,
yeah, Tom broke.
They had got the marker on the other side there.
Yeah, he broke.
Oh, that's
Tom
sorry.
did
That was
dry,
the graphic to the break. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I was going to say was he has got another unmissable finish here, and they don't really get any easier than this. All of the reds are out of the way, so there's no traffic to run into, which is when people say about, oh
dear.
And the only red that he could run into, he's hit and pushed it in front of the yellow.
That yellow still goes to the top left.
Yeah, it does.
And he could probably get on it now, play the 1-2 on bottom right and screw up onto it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or he could pot it and leave the angle on the one that's on the line to get onto it, if he feels he's got too much angle to screw up. But when top players miss finishes, it's generally because they've either kissed into another ball or snookered themselves. It's rarely because they miss balls, especially the top boys. And that's why I said in this case he hadn't got any traffic to run into, because all of the reds. And you see, this is exactly the point I was making the frame before, Nick, of leaving the natural angle. So he's purposely left the natural angle, I think he has, to pop this red, the yellow into the corner.
Yeah.
And just drift off one cushion, maybe two cushions if he overhits it. And the natural angle is taking him over to it. He hasn't got to play with any side. He can just drop it in and worry about the pace control on the cue ball exactly like that.
Yeah, I think the one to bottom right was kind of unnatural, and he had the middle bag to contend with as well, so it was a much better way to go.
And Jake just keeps finishing a little bit awkward. But I can't tell the exact angle. But if he is running into the red or even the yellow that's over the middle, that doesn't really matter. As long as he hits one of them, he's going to be on the other one. So I think he just needs to concentrate on the pot here. And he's took his eye off the pot, watching the cannon. First rule. First objective is you make the ball.
Left nothing easy here for Tom. He's got that cluster of 3 balls at the top of the table.
No, I think he's been fortunate if he can't see these 2 reds that are to the bottom right of the screen as we look, because the yellow goes in off the red, sorry, goes in off the yellow that's over the middle. And obviously these rules are very different, where you can play red onto yellow and it would just be loss of turn.
So for those watching who are recently joining us, maybe you're tuning in from Australia, we are playing the Supreme Pool Series and we're playing to Supreme rules. It's a race to 11. Just for the benefit of the viewers, Gaz, can we just touch on some of the key points of the Supreme rules and the key differences between other sets of rules?
Yeah, I mean, the rules are devised to make the game more attacking and ultimately more simple for the viewer to watch. They are almost exactly the same as all the other 8-ball rules that are played throughout the whole world. So all of the players, whether it be America, whether it be China, all of those players that play 8-ball play to almost these set of rules. So I think that's the first thing to think about. And they do just make the game so much simpler and so much easier to understand, and they are much more attacking. So you break, and it's an open table. The first ball, you don't have to nominate the first ball that you pot, legal ball that you pot, you're on. You have to hit a cushion after contact, the same as the other rules. The big difference is there's no 2 shots and there's no 2 shots carry. So a foul is just ball and hand anywhere on the table, which I absolutely love that rule, because it means, you know, that you're going for the finish and there's always pressure on it. There isn't just the 2 shots and I'll just roll this one over the hole and pot it with the second shot.
Yeah.
And the other, for me, the best feature of the rule is, for example, at World Rules, if you miss your last ball up the rail and I've got 2 or 3 around that pocket, there's an argument that you're still favourite. At these rules, you're almost guaranteed to lose the frame, because you have 2 options. You either play the skill shot like you can at the black ball rules, or you can just play the loss of turn shot. As long as you make contact with your own ball first, you pot your opponent's ball, and it isn't 2 shots. It isn't cue ball in hand. It's literally you just play from where the cue ball lands. And that's basically as simple as it gets. I think people can overcomplicate things, and ultimately it's still 8-ball and you still have to pot your 7 balls in the black.
So Jake's going to break frame number 4. This could easily, this scoreline. So Jake gets himself on the board at 2 frames to 1, but that scoreline could easily have been reversed. In fact, I think Jake's had chances in each of the frames. It could easily be 3-0 to him.
Yeah, I think Jake will be sitting there disappointed it's not 3-0.
Yeah.
And personally, I think that he needed it to be 3-0 for him to have a chance of winning this match, and to be completely honest. But Tom does look a little bit out of sorts. Well, that's 3-1.
Yeah, immediately lost the cue ball and. Well,
So the only difference with the ball in hand anywhere on the table is from the break. You have to place the cue ball behind the line. It's not just anywhere on the table. Any other time you can place the cue ball anywhere you want on the table. But in this instance, it doesn't make a difference because he would probably place the cue ball there anyway. He's going to leave these two at the bottom end of the table as his penultimate yellows. And again, it's all just natural angles. It's just drop in, drop, and he hasn't got to do a single thing with the cue ball.
He's obviously played to come around to play the one in the middle next.
Yeah, he's played it into the right middle because it doesn't pass the two reds into the left middle. Otherwise, he would have left that one. He's got a huge area now to land in. He'll just drift up into the middle of the table. Or he chose to go the other side of the red.
A lot of traffic, and he was going to be very unlucky not to be on that yellow. Almost impossible, but
Well, this might be a little bit careless if he's straight.
I think he's just got enough angle. And as you predicted, very quickly, 3 frames to 1. And Jake really does need to up his game. He just needs to find the top of his game, otherwise it will quickly get away from him.
As you can see, all the other matches are going on there in the background, and if you want to check out the scores of any of those matches, you can do that on Q Score. Actually, there's the graphic with the first one that hit me there is in the middle of the screen. Ryan Pisani, 4-1 against Rob Warren.
Leon Welsh is asking what's the average tip size used by professional players. It really does vary. The players in this event, some use as small as 7 mil, and some use as large as 10 mil. In fact, I think there was a player yesterday who was using one of the Chinese 8-ball cues with kind of 11 or 12 mil tip on it. But they tend, if you ask for an average, it's probably around about 8 to 8.5 mil.
Yeah, I would say the average is between. Yeah, I would say the average is around 8.5 now.
Most players tend to use a smaller tip than they would if they were playing snooker, just because of the difference in the size of the ball and the weight of the ball.
As you can see there, Tom, who has got an unbelievable break, he absolutely flushed the front ball there. And what I mean by that is he hit it dead centre, which meant that the cue ball come back in a dead straight line. If you watch this, look, the cue ball bounces back in a straight line. And there is a huge skill in doing that, because when you're hitting the ball so hard, and effectively you're almost getting your shoulder out of the way to create the power, it is a huge skill to hit the front ball so clean. The downside to that is if you don't hit the ball clean and you catch it even 3/4 ball either side, as you can see, the cue ball bounced and you run the risk of the cue ball coming off the table.
So Tom at the table now, he uses an 8 mil tip on a Jason Owen cue. In a couple of minutes we'll just run through the other scores. Some of the games just starting to shape up now. Jake McCartney uses a Q-Craft cue and he has a 8.6 mil tip. So not a massive amount of difference.
I think around that size is about right. I think if you go too small, there is fors and against of slightly smaller and larger tips, but I think the fors of a smaller tip is you tend to be able to play the little flick shots and the little control shots with the side spin. you feel as though you can control them a little bit easier, and you feel as though you can get the spin to take a little bit quicker with the smaller tip. I think the big advantage of having one a little bit bigger is when you've got to pop that pressure ball over distance, it's easier to find the middle of the cue ball with a bigger tip. If you've got to pop that long pressure ball and you're using almost a 7mm knitting needle, if you don't find the middle of the cue ball and you push a little bit aside on, the cue ball's going to push offline, and it definitely isn't as easy to pot them long balls.
Someone like Rob Chilton uses around about a 7mm tip. I think it's tiny, his cue, isn't it? It's,
the whole cue is tiny.
Yeah.
His tip's tiny, but the whole cue is it's almost like a chopstick.
Yeah.
I don't know how he plays with it, to be honest. I think he's had over the years meltdowns with it where he's chopped bits off it himself and lost in events and got the hacksaw out and lobbed a bit off the bottom and stuff like that. But in the contrast to that, Phil Harrison uses quite a long cue, and his tip is, I think, around 9.5, 10mm. So it's...
Yeah, Adam Davis, we saw in action yesterday, he uses a 10mm tip. That's very much on the larger size.
I think they were 10. I think they were 10mm when the cues were new. The fact that they've had the cues for so long and had different ferrules, and I think it's probably more like 9.5. But even so, that is big for English 8-ball. I mean, 9.5 would be would be the average size for snooker.
Couple of players we just mentioned there. Rob Chilton is in action against Lee Clough. He's leading 2-1. Interestingly, Darren McVicker is 4-1 up against Mark Boyle. That could be another really big win for him, and he's found a bit of a new lease of life since he mentioned yesterday in the interview that he's changed his cue action, the way he cues the ball, and he's playing really well. Declan Brennan 4-0 up against Lydon de Bono. Ronan McCarthy 3-2 against Carl Boys. Jordan Shepherd now 4-2 up against Phil Harrison. He's trying to do a bit of a revenge job because Phil beat him 11-3 a couple of weeks ago.
Well, yeah, and you have to say that Phil has had a stinking draw in this event. He had Tom Cousins in a prelim to play. He had Craig Marsh to play Jordan Shepherd, and that's probably as tough as it goes. I did mention before that playing doubles can be tough when the cloth place and the cushions play so slippy, and we've seen 2 doubles and 2 missed. Tom overcompensated that, maybe expecting it to slide a little bit more.
Incidentally, Paul Moulding would be very happy to see that Ryan Bassani's 5-1 up against Rob Warren, as he owns him in the Calcutta. Sean Chipperfield 4-2 against Liam White. John McAllister's 3-1 up against Jez Graham. In other scores, Jamie Burnett 4-2 against Steve Petty. Steve Petty has been fairly flying through the round so far. Dom Cooney has the edge over Carl O'Donoghue at the moment. And that game I earmarked earlier as being one to watch, Callum Singleton now is 2-1 up against Scott Gillespie. That's 2 players in really good form, and another little cheer there from Paul Moulding because he owns Callum Singleton as well. So both of his horses doing very well. On the downside, you've also got Adam Penwell, so, don't be cheering too much. In the meantime, Tom. Oh, the colours are the... it was Jake. I thought it was Jake at the table. So I just looked away at the scores for a moment and lost track of who was at the table. It was Jake indeed, and referee Viv Rusco calls frame. Viv, incidentally, has been on her travels recently. Week before last, she was in China, playing in an event along with Gaz Hibbert, her partner. And then last week, she got a call out of the blue from the referee, Nigel Rees, who is the head referee for all the Matchroom pool events, and she was invited to go and referee the event in the 9-ball event over in Gibraltar last week. So really good to see Viv being recognised. Very good referee. In fact, she runs the School of Referees, heavily involved in writing this rule set that we're seeing being played out this weekend.
McCartney's break, trailing 3 frames to 2.
Good break.
Oh,
Good break, and he deserved that to drop
did.
in.
Just finds its way into the pocket.
The reason I said good break is, again, he hit the front ball flush, but obviously didn't hit it as hard as Tom hits it. I don't know if he deliberately took a bit off that, but sort of sacrificed a little bit of power for control, I think.
Reds look good here. There's one that's kind of in amongst the cluster at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I don't like reds. I think if this
Really?
yellow goes across the top rail, he'll be going yellows. He is.
He is.
10 seconds.
Yeah, that was the question for me, is whether that one went.
And
Clearly did.
a bit of a Brucey, because he's flicked the 2 reds and pushed them tied up on the side rail. Not though you would expect him to miss from here, but if he does, the reds are not pretty.
It kind of gives you that tiny bit of psychological freedom that, you know, you can go full out for the clearance expecting to get it, and if you don't, it's a couple of balls tied up.
I presume that yellow passes the black, or passes the other yellow, because seeing as he's gone too far into the middle. Not the end of the world if it doesn't, but he needs to tighten up his cue ball control here, because it is a bit all over the place.
I think he's overrun that by a good 6 or 8 inches.
Yeah, these 3 yellows, as you can see there at the forefront of that picture, the middle one of those, he was playing on that into the left corner. So that gives you an idea of just how far he's over it that by. But I think he can just drop this one in the middle and just hold the cue ball on the red. So he needs to catch this very thin. Like that. Good shot. So now he's going to have go number 2 at getting back into that place. You can see there where he's put his tip. So where it says series on the right-hand side of the table there, he wants the cue ball somewhere in line with that, or even of the Supreme logo. And you might think it's a bit weird saying that, but that wasn't a plug for any sponsorship. I do personally use things like that when I'm playing positional shots, whether it be a finger mark on the table or a chalk mark or something to aim at. As you can see there, I said on the series, and that's exactly where he's put it. And there's a chalk mark there on the right-hand side, you see, and that's what I would have used as a guide to get the cue ball. Golfers use targets exactly the same. Well, he said extension while he was down on his shot there. Still played it well. Just lifted his head up, said extension, and then just hit it. Wants to be maybe where the line meets the top spot there, then he can just top on and off this top cushion. You might think, well, it can just be anywhere, it doesn't matter, but it does matter sometimes. You can see he's left it on that line that I said, it's almost on the, and he can just top this now on and off the top cushion. Choice of using 2 cushions with top left or 1 cushion with top right. and another finish that you would definitely expect him to get, but he has got it, and Jake looks like he's settled down a little bit now, and even though the cue ball is not as tight as he'd like it to be, he is sort of getting to grips with the pace of the table now, and look, he'll be nervous. He's playing one of the best players in the world. I'm sure he's got a lot of people back home in Australia watching this. See, it'd be prime time back in Australia now, I think. Would it? Oh no, it wouldn't. It'd be around midnight, I think. Maybe that is prime time on a Saturday night.
Frame number 7, Tom Cousins break, 3 frames all. Time running.
Cheers. So there's a few people on the stream asking if I'm going to be playing, and no, I'm not. I'm not going to be playing in any of the events this year. I was supposed to be away for this event as well, but my nan recently had a heart attack, so I was I've been at home for a few weeks now, so I haven't really done anything for a couple of weeks. I go back out to China now in a couple of weeks, but there's a new 9-ball league starting out in China, which is 9-ball played on the Joy Chinese 8-ball tables, with just 8 players. So I'm going to have 4 or 5 trips quite close together from the end of this month to July, playing the group matches of that, and the top 4 go through to the semis and the final. So sort of concentrate on that now from the next couple of weeks. So yeah, there'll be. I'm not going to play any of the events, and I don't think I'm going to be here for any of the others. Maybe one of them. Back to the pool, and just something that I've noticed, or something that I already knew. That was a good shot. That only just went striking down, and he had to punch that into the left side of the pocket as he looked. So that was a bit of a better shot than it perhaps looked. But you can see there, look, striking down, that was a better shot than it looked. And one thing that I've noticed with both of these players, which I already knew about Tom anyway, but if you watch, they both cue quite a long way away from the cue ball. Tom even further away than Jake, but they're both still quite far away. Jake's maybe, I don't know, an inch away, but if you watch when Tom plays, Tom's a long distance away from the cue ball, and it's quite rare to see top players, or certainly Tom, who would be one of the very, very best, to cue so far away from the cue ball. But everyone's got their own technique and style, and obviously it works for Tom. You can see there, look, he's quite a way away from the cue ball. Mistake. Tried to play it purposely, didn't catch the yellow. He purposely tried to play it off the yellow, just caught it too thick. And if you'll get a chance to look at Tom now, how far away he is from the cue ball.
Jake not left an easy opener here, so Tom's going to have to play this one Down the rail, tricky ball to open the account, but
Good shot, and
yeah,
the cue ball just caught the knuckle, and I think he's on it still. He would have been unlucky if he wasn't.
I don't know if we can get a better angle on that one. That's
I think he is on it.
yeah.
And maybe get a...
Just.
There you go, it does just go, and he can just see it, and he's perfect. He can just nip the cue ball back an inch or two and land on the one that's next to the black there. You can't see from that angle, but we maybe get a good look at this on this shot of how far away his tip is from the cue ball. See? Well, he didn't even cue up to that one. Maybe get a look at this one. Well, Tom stopped queuing up to him for the minute. He thinks it that easy. There you go, look, you see? He's at least 2 inches away. You can notice it more on, obviously, the tough shots where he spends more time down on it, look. You see that? He feathers so far away. And the late, great Paul Hunter was very similar. He was a long way away from the cue ball as well. I can't think of any other top players at either cue sports that are that far away.
There's some players that they cue so close that you almost wonder how they don't feather the ball more often.
Yeah, I personally cue quite close, and sometimes too close. I do feather the cue ball occasionally. I think what naturally happens when you're under pressure is you naturally come further back anyway, because you're subconsciously scared of feathering the cue ball, or consciously. But I know I do come back a little bit, but I have feathered the cue ball a few times. Especially when I've had a new tip, and the new tip is a little bit higher because I am that close. When I have a new tip on, maybe in practice the first session, I would definitely feather it a few times.
That's amazing that just an extra kind of millimetre on the end of a cue can make that much difference, and it shows the fine margins of how close you are actually cueing. You could see Mark Boyd in the background. He's still in action against Darren McVicker. Darren McVicker was 4-1 up, it's now 4 apiece. Mark Boyle, you never expect him to lie down for anybody. Well, he's certainly not in that game. Other interesting scores. Jordan Shepherd now 5-3 against Phil Harrison. Sean Chipperfield 6-2 against Liam White. Ryan Pisani 5-3 against Rob Warren. Conor Donoghue 5-3 against Dom Cooney. And Callum Singleton 2, Scott Gillespie 1. That frame seems to be going on for the last 20 minutes or so.
On the chat, Jordan has said that Max Nosko cues a long way away from the cue ball as well, and yeah, he does actually. I didn't think of him. He is a long way away as well. He would be further away than Jake. I'm not sure he's quite as far away as Tom, but he's probably somewhere in between. He's played a good shot here, Jack, because Jake, sorry, he can potentially play the red and just brush the black on the way past and just bump the black out a little bit so it goes. Just like that. Good shot. Really good shot, that. Because that wasn't easy. If he catches it too thick, he misses it. If he catches it too thin, he misses it. Or potentially pots it and the black doesn't move. And see this shot again. Sort of just caught a ball off the edge of the black, look. And he didn't need to move it far. He would have preferred to move it a bit further, so he had options of potting it in the corner or the middle. But he'll still take that.
I don't think he's played the pot there, has he?
No, he's definitely played the pot. Yeah, he just played it really bad. Yeah. There's no prizes and no.
The only reason I say it is because there's no. I mean, he's not even played a positional shot, has he? I thought for a second.
Yeah, you're right.
You're absolutely right. There's no prizes for covering.
There's no prizing for covering the pockets with these rules. And Tom is now basically playing this onto the other one to bump it, and he's going to pop the red in the same shot. Watch.
Now has a nice angle on the ball to the bottom right pocket to be able to cannon into the yellow and the black. He wants to cannon the yellow. He doesn't want to come from behind the ball because it's just going to stay where it is. So he pretty much wants to cannon the yellow full ball. That's okay.
Yeah, as you called, Nick, hitting it that way, he had to hit it hard to make sure that the yellow came away from the cushion, and in doing that, he's pushed the black safe.
Yeah. It felt like one of those that if he cannoned the yellow full ball, he couldn't fail to get them both out. So this clearance is not without its problems. Still has the yellow on the left side rail.
Yeah, and he's just brushed the red to the cushion there, and what that does is obviously gives him a bit of security, but also what it does is it just moves it out of the way and gives him a little bit more space to get on the black. And he'll be playing on the black off the one over the middle. So he'll drop down to the one on the top cushion with a little angle, just like that, and then he'll run the cue ball to the side cushion. Again, see the chalk mark on the side cushion? I think somewhere near that chalk mark is about right. Look, see he's putting the tip exactly there.
Then it just leaves a natural angle to float across.
Just leaves a natural angle.
To the left cushion for the black.
So he'll be aiming for the chalk mark. See if he can get it on. He's short, and that's why he's just put his head down. The line was right, pace was wrong.
And now the problem with this is he's going to have to force it to get across, and that makes the pot infinitely more difficult.
I think he's just okay, especially because of how quick this table's playing. But yeah, you've got to make sure that you don't jeopardise. Good shot. I thought he was just going to brush the edge of the red and leave himself straight. It's just bounced off enough to make his life a bit awkward because he's bridging directly over the middle of the red. But he pots so well that, and especially now that he's settled down into this match.
It's a nice clearance. It takes a 2-frame lead, and it's now 5-3. Phil Harrison has won the next frame. It's Jordan Shepherd 5, Phil Harrison 4. Mark Ball now 5-4 up against Darren McVicker.
See, you were talking about Viv there, and it's just the little things with Viv and how good a referee she is. And you just heard her ask there, Jake, if he wanted some more water. And it is just the little things like that that do go a long way.
Yeah, most referees would just be fully focused on racking the balls and not think of those kind of peripheral things. There you see all the scores up on the screen. Callum Singleton now 3-1 against Scott Gillespie. It's going to be a good battle, that game. Two very exciting young talents. Scott Gillespie already very much proven. Callum still establishing himself in the game. Had a great result last year. But he's still proving himself in this event. He had some really good, took some really good sculpts last year as well. Beat Tom Cousins in one of the events. Obviously beat Chris Melling yesterday. He's a real great young talent and a real contender as well.
I think Carl O'Donoghue is due the great break there from Tom. Flushed the front ball and just parked the cue ball in the middle of the table. I don't know if we can bring you a replay of that, but no, we didn't. But it's a huge skill to hit him like that, because there he got it's hard to explain where to hit the cue ball, but it's almost like just above centre, so it naturally comes back anyway, because obviously the cue ball is lighter than the object balls anyway, but it's the force is coming back off the pack, but then the little bit of top spin, once it grips on the cloth, then just parks it into the middle of the table. And it is a great thing to watch, I think, when you see somebody break and it just parks in the middle of the table like that.
Where's his opener? Yeah, he's
Well, his opener's vile.
Yeah.
Because you can't play yellow onto red first shot. And he's just playing a safety.
Yeah. You saw him checking the bottom of the table just to see the area he could play into to leave it difficult.
Is he having a free go at this?
I think he is.
And trying to top the cue ball down. Well, you don't get much closer without potting it. Great effort. But it was, or should be, almost like the black, that ball. Because when you play that, you're saying to yourself, if I miss it, I'm probably going to lose the frame. Shows how close he got to it, the pace he's hit it, and it's hung in the pocket. Yeah, I was going to say about Carl O'Donoghue, I think that he's due, I think he is due a run or a win. I mean, I think he has great results and he plays some great matches and he does look very, very good. He hits the ball really well, but I just think that he lacks the consistency. One match he'll be great and then the next match he's not so great, and in a field of so many great players, you're going to get caught out if your consistency level isn't there every single match, Nick.
Yeah, he's definitely got the talent. He's currently 7-3 up against Dom Cooney, so he's making the inroads he needs to.
Yeah, I just fancy him to pop up in one of these events.
It was a late entry into the series, and I'm glad he joined because he does bring a different dimension. Great player, really fun to watch, attacking, aggressive.
These rules suit those sort of players even more.
Has he got just the wrong angle on the one in the middle?
Well, if he's straight on the one in the middle, I would just take my medicine and drop it in, and then pop the one down the cushion and just stun into the yellow, and just bump the yellow out of the way. So exactly like that. Maybe not quite so far, but I would just pop this one into the left corner now and just stun into the yellow. You always want to hit the yellow more, edge more on the top side, so the cue ball goes into the black rather than on the bottom side, and it may push through. But I think even if he finds the gap, he's going to be fine. I don't see how this can go wrong, to be honest. As long as he pots the red, I don't see how he can not be on the other one.
Well, let's go a different way about it.
Oh, he's playing this one.
It does depend on, I was just about to say, it does depend on really good cue ball control to come around that red.
Yeah, and you know, I'm all for not playing cannons if you don't have to, so maybe that was the right shot. Maybe that was the right shot. If you didn't have to play the cannon, then don't play it, but he has come a little bit awkward, I think.
Yeah, he needs to.
I think had he ever landed straight on the one in the middle like he tried to, it was the right shot, and probably it was the wrong call for me to play it if he'd have got straight on it, to be honest. But he is a little bit nasty now because he can't get good on either red. That's why he's just stalled. Whichever one he pots, he can't get good on the other one.
I think it's got to be the one to the bottom right, but he needs to play it. He needs to play it off the bottom cushion, and well,
yeah, he'll take that.
Yeah,
he'll take that because it passes into the top right corner.
Doesn't have to do too much with the cue ball either, does he? Just stun it across, and he's going to be on the black for the bottom right.
Just had a message from one of my old pals who I grew up playing with, Andy Barnett, who's now living in Australia on the Gold Coast, and he just messaged to let me know that it was 8:45 p.m. when I was uncertain of what the time was in Australia. Obviously watching the match and listening to the commentary. Glad you're doing well, mate, and seeing you back playing and showing them all how to play over there in the money matches I see. playing with Andy in the junior England team and go back a long way. He moved out to Australia quite a while ago now, but he didn't really play any pool for a long time. But I know he's back at it now, and he's back heavily on the money match scene. I think he's played a couple and won a couple, and he's got another big one coming up, I've seen, for around 40k pretty soon. So all the best with that, mate, and I hope you and the family are well.
Phil Harris and Jordan Shepherd now 5 each. Rob Chilton 4-1 over Lee Clough. Jamie Burnett still ahead of Steve Petty 6-4.
There we go. They're all on there, and Jack Whelan, who's arguably over the last couple of months the best player on the planet, is on another good run. He's won. Well, I think he's won the last 3 tournaments in a row. He won the professional event. He won a 500-pounder man the week after, and then he won the Murphy's event. Was it?
Yeah.
Last week.
English Open week before last. Yeah.
So he's definitely the man to beat. And to be fair, he's had 2 tough matches already in this tournament. He beat Shane Thompson, and then he beat Dave Fernandez yesterday. So nobody wants to be near Jack in the draw at the minute, and he's 7-4 up there. So
I had a chat to him yesterday, just pulled him into the commentary box for a quick 10 minutes just to find out what's happening with him. And he said that he found a bit of a new lease of life, having probably been in the doldrums for the last couple of years. Wasn't particularly enjoying the game because he wasn't having the time to focus on it. So he'd sort of had a bit of a rethink and had a chat with his wife and said that he wants to give it one more go to see if he can find his form again and fully focus on the game. And if he couldn't, then he was pretty much on the verge of hanging up his cue, which would be a shame for a player of his quality.
Yeah, very, very talented, but it just goes to show if you're not putting the work in, then you're not going to get the results.
Yeah, and he was saying that he's practicing daily now and reaping the benefits of it.
Good shot there from Jake, and just while we were talking, he hit another good break. He didn't necessarily hit the front ball like he wanted to, but they split nice, and he made one, and he played a good shot there, and you could argue a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, he's got the thin one to the middle, but the cue ball is going to be travelling.
It is, but I don't know if he can load it up with right-hand side, Nick, and go side cushion, so the white hits somewhere where the line meets the cushion with a load of right-hand side just to check it back down the line. Or where was the cue ball, even if he'd have potted it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the shot I was saying was if he gets the cue ball to hit where the line meets the cushion with a load of right-hand side, which you naturally want to play that shot with right-hand side anyway, and then it hits the top cushion and it just checks back in a straight line, I think he would have landed on his problem ball down the rail. Might look really easy, these, for Tom, the yellows, but they're not quite as easy as they look. Because the yellow that's on the top cushion is a little bit awkward, and it's a little bit awkward to sort of navigate the cue ball down to it from any of the balls because of where the red is in the middle of the table in front of that yellow. So he's just got to make sure he minds his work here and sort of threads the cue ball. I think what he could do is pop this one in the middle, pop the other one in the right middle, and then pop the one into the corner and stun the cue ball off the side cushion just below the middle and through the gap. You can see there he's looking. If he lands straight, he could maybe screw directly back, or he can leave an angle to stun just after the middle with some left-hand side. Not quite as easy as they look. The English 8-ball table, it is quite small, so you have to be very cute with the cue ball. He wants to leave it straight, you see, so he can screw back between the yellow, between the red and the black. But if he doesn't leave the exact angle, that's not easy.
too straight, isn't it?
Don't know. He may have been lucky, and can he screw back in it? Yeah, he's been.
Yeah.
He can screw. Well,
Screw directly
he can
back through
screw
the gap.
directly back through the gap and play on it. Now, if the black doesn't go to that left middle, then he's going to have to leave a big angle, or take his medicine and pop the black into the top right corner, of course, which I think he'll probably do. I'm surprised he didn't play two cushions there, so side cushion, top cushion, because playing that way you can get a lot closer to the yellow. Has to just drop it in now with tracer left hand side just to hold the cue ball up, and it'll land pretty straight on the black into the corner. And that's twice now that he's missed balls up the rail, and he's hit him thick into the cushion both times. The red into the top left corner, the second or third frame. He hit exactly the same as that into the top cushion when he was playing twice across for the black, and he's just hit that into the cushion. And
again, well, he's left it horrible for Jake, isn't he?
His face tells you.
Treacherous little cut back into the middle. It's not. I mean, he could play defensive, but there's not a lot of value in that, is there?
I think there is, because the black doesn't go nowhere. So even if he hits
course,
it,
yeah.
you know, it's not easy for him to. I think that's a really good shot, especially if that's blocked the black into that corner, because that means it only goes into one pocket now. I like that shot. Very good shot. I don't really see how he gets out of it, other than playing the cue ball in the jaws of the pocket. Or obviously playing a big swerve, but the problem with the big swerve is the yellow's so far into the pocket. I don't see where there's a line other than playing the cue ball into the bottom right jaws, but then how does he land on the black?
Yeah. Can he come 3 times across the table? Is there a gap between the kind of red and black?
Oh, yeah, there is. There is. Yeah, good shout. Well, maybe they're so slidey, these tables, when it hits the second cushion. What he's looking at is playing. He's almost where the P of the pool is on the with a load of right hand side. Yeah. But because they're so slippy, I don't see how it'll grip. I think if he could get to the bottom of the cue ball and play it, he has a chance. But because the cue ball's on the rail, obviously no deliberate fouls, so he can't push a ball in. So he has to try and hit this somehow. And I think he's playing my shot. What about this? Oh. Well, that is obviously desperately unlucky, but I don't think that he passed into that top corner anyway, or did it? If it does pass into that top corner. Oh, how unlucky is this? Because he even hits it half ball.
That's so.
It does pass into that top corner as well. You know, he'll be sick that he hasn't landed with some short shot after playing that. I think he's that close to the red. He can't even come off the side cushion.
I was going to say if he can get to side cushion, you expect him to get fairly close. But
oh, he's playing the cock tat.
Yeah.
Oh, if he pots this, then I think Jake will just want to go home. Big chance for Jake. Has to obviously take these out. 5 reds, basically, where you would place him with your hand in the middle of the table if you're having a bit of a practice. So, I fully understand this isn't a practice, but has to be getting these.
Jordan Shepherd, who was 5-3 up on Phil Harrison, is now 7-5 behind. Phil just seems to have the psychological edge on him at the moment. Sean Chipperfield 7-5 against Liam White. Carl O'Donoghue needs 2 more, he's 5-3 up. And Callum Singleton 5-2 up against Scott Gillespie. Ronan McCarthy 8-3 up against Carl Boys. No surprise to see the old campaigner beating Carl, but the scoreline, well, Raise a few eyebrows. Carl's been really playing well recently. Ryan Pisani, having been 5-2 up against Rob Warren, is now 6-5 behind.
Again, just lost the cue ball, and you heard that big sigh because he's now going to have to jack up and softly screw on and off the side cushion. See there, digging down. We just decelerated. See what happens, Nick, as well, when you're playing on a table that's so quick and so responsive. When you've overhit a few shots, you can see that he's disappointed with this, but you know when you've overhit a few shots, you then become scared of the table and you can then decelerate. Oh, he's very high on this. Look, he's jacking up.
He needs to cue this really well. That was
Good
very,
shot.
very missable.
Good shot. Yeah, you know, when you're playing on a table that's so quick and so responsive, you overhit a few shots and then you become almost scared of the pace of the table. And then what happens is you start then decelerating on shots because you're scared of overhitting again.
Yeah.
And it becomes a bit of a sort of mental war with yourself because you're scared of, almost scared of the table getting away from you, especially, you know, with the light cue ball, you know, you just, and to be fair, that's what I think's caught Tom out a few times, I think, because he's played a few shots where he's scared of overhitting it and scared of getting into the cue ball too much. He's actually gone the other way.
See all the players in the arena behind. Gareth Hibbett in the blue shirt. He's currently in action against John Rowe, trailing 6-3. And there you see the couple of the victors from last year. Scott Gillespie now the ambassador for Supreme Pool. Thanks to all our sponsors. The winning post is Jed Ronan. Also the PPV Guru, Liberty Games, Aramith, Strachan, Supreme have all played their part in bringing you this production.
Frame number 11. Tom Cousins, frame 5 frames old.
Liam White, I think he was something like 5-1 behind Sean Chipperfield, is now 7 each. Some fight back. Jack Whelan's now on the hill against Rich Gifford. Rich Gifford travelled up from the southwest, around the Gloucester area, I think. Jamie Bennett still maintaining his lead against Steve Petty, 8-5. Carl O'Donoghue has done the business. He's beaten Dom Cooney 11 frames to 3. So, Jake McCartney, the head, 28 years old. Q-Craft Q with a blue diamond 8.6 tip. Started playing pool when he was just 12 years old. His parents used to run the local Ballarat Pool League. By the time he was 15, he had the keys to a pool room, and he found himself wagging off school and spending all his time in the club. Fell in love with pool ever since he picked up a cue. His mum's his inspiration, who he lost 7 years ago. He mentions players like Ben Noonan, Ron Kelly, and Jamie Stevens, Don Colbert, and Wayne McCartney as big influences on him. Favourite Q Sports player is Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Frame 12, Jake McCartney to break, trailing 6 frames to 5. Time running.
Loves competing, loves travelling around the world to be able to play pool and to be an ambassador for the game. His opponent, top cap, Tom Cousins, obviously has recently moved from EPA, where he's been a fixture for a number of years, across into the IPA. He's currently playing on the amateur tour. Not for long, I would suggest. He's 28 years old. Obviously his biggest achievements are those 2 world titles. Started playing pool when he was 13 years old. His favourite player is Phil Harrison, because he's a machine and a really nice guy. A man of very, very few words. If he does go on and win this match, you'll see if we do manage to get him into the interview room, he's a very, very quiet and shy person. Doesn't like the limelight at all, but a really lovely fellow. We did have a chat to him before the game, and he said he has been in training. He's been in training, ready for the interviews. And when I say in training, I mean that he's training to try and run away faster after the game. I mean, literally, you'll never see anything like it. as soon as the game ends, he picks up his cue and runs out the arena before anyone can capture him and get him into the interview room. He absolutely hates the limelight. So many times I've covered his games now, money matches and tournaments, and he's just so understated. Very, very humble person. I think he underplays his talent. Has the ability to become one of the greatest players to ever hold a cue. Already in amongst the best. Now this yellow obviously just passes. One of those, well, you can see there. Does it? Is it one of those that you can just squeeze above? Or is he going to have to play it as a combination shot and try and pop both? Yeah. So he did play it as the combo. Didn't execute it particularly well, and it's a loss of turn. Not a foul in these rules. Just hands the table over to his opponent. Tom has to play the ball from where it lies.
Well, he'll be over the moon with that result, but he has left Jake a shot. I think he needs to come off the left side cushion and just drop the one into the middle. Not easy to judge because he needs to play it slow, and it is going to slide a lot. Not sure if he can play yellow off yellow into the middle, and if he can, he won't have a clue where the other yellow. Maybe he can. Maybe he can get it.
10 seconds.
No, not like that. I like just the one cushion escape. You just basically play to pot the white into the right middle. From where he was, you know, if I'd said to you, Nick, you've got to just come off the left side cushion and just pot the cue ball into the right middle, you know, you'd be pretty confident you'd be able to play that shot, and as long as you got that shot, you would have potted the yellow and been dead straight on your last ball. I think you maybe missed a trick there, but I don't think that was as easy as it perhaps looked, but will Tom try to take the red that's on the top cushion away while he's still got two reds left on the table, or will he leave it until last? He's going to leave it until last. Oh, again, we said about leaving the correct angles, and I'm not sure he's left the correct one here.
Yeah, see some fireworks with the cue ball, screw it back off the rail with loads of...
Well, the only thing I can think is he meant to stun it in, and he screwed it back 3 inches, but...
Oh, he just manufacture an angle to come down the table.
Well, see,
Wow.
the natural angle is just so much easier to get there, where... I think the reason why he was a bit short was he was really mindful of not being too straight, and by doing that he's left it short. And again, he's hit it into the top cushion, thick. That's 3 now, he's hit thick.
See if we can
Well,
get the replay of that one.
let's show you this one again. To play the skill shot from this distance is unbelievable. What about that?
Really is.
Well, obviously it was an unbelievable shot, and to get it to follow through like that. But at these rules, it's not as cutthroat as it would be at black ball. Obviously, if you don't get the skill shot at black ball, it's a foul. At these rules, it's not. It's just loss of turn. And it was quite a clever shot because, if you notice from the replay, he got the cue ball basically at the bottom end of the table. So if he hadn't have got the skill shot, he's basically saying to Tom, well, you've got to pot a pretty tricky black.
Yeah.
Here we go, see it again. If you watch where he gets the cue ball, he gets the cue ball in a place where he's leaving the black as tricky really as it can be. And had he ever not got it, the yellow would have been sitting over the pocket. So, but still, fantastic skill shot. You won't see too many better than that.
I think that's definitely going to go on the highlights reel. We would, if we're going to do a little best shot compilation at the end, or maybe even have a little competition at some point for you to decide what you think the best shot is, that's definitely going in amongst them. That's one of the best skill shots I've seen.
Tom Cousins to break, 6 frames all. Time running. Well. Ball in hand. Behind break length. Time running.
Jack Williams through, 11-4. Callum Singleton grinding it out. He's 6-3 up against Scott Gillespie now.
You'd have to say Callum's had a pretty tough draw. Malin first match.
Yeah. Scott Gillespie, second game, and then if he does go on and win this one, I think he's got Kyle O'Donoghue in the next.
So he's going to clear these in areas. So these 2, then the bottom 2, last, and he'll be leaving the one over the bottom right corner until last, obviously, but he'll want to be pretty straight on that, so he can just either screw back or stun on and off the back cushion to pop the black in the right centre. You won't want to be going up the right side of the table because obviously there's traffic of the 3 yellows in a line there. He's once again maybe left this a little bit short. Just can't get the cue ball under control, can he? But it's okay. He still has the option of dropping down to the back cushion and playing on the bottom one next and leaving the one that's on the line till last. Because he can play this as a 2-way shot. If he drops down to the back cushion, he can either land on it into the middle or land on the bottom one. So I like that shot of coming down to play on a choice of 2. Got a very relaxed way about him around the table, Jake. Looks like he's just... There you go. That's pretty good. Just got to make sure he judges the pace control with this. Obviously too far, he snookers himself, and too short, he might struggle to hold for the black. So He has struggled with the pace control of the cue ball so far, so this is one that he does need to get right.
It's a shame for him that the yellow is just above, because he could just target that the second yellow up just to.
He is short.
Yeah.
So now he's going to have to pop the black in the same pocket as the red, I think. The black does go in both corners, so he is going to have some sort of shot at the black, so I think he can just don't do what he did before and take your eye off the red. You have to make sure you pot the red as the first thing. Played it plain ball and just give himself a shot, and that was the only thing he could do.
Yeah, that's okay. You fancy him for this. And can he take the lead? I think it would be the first time. He can indeed. 7-6 up. For the first time in the game that he's been ahead.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Ronan McCarthy's on the hill against Carboys.
It's quite a quick match, that, isn't it? The McCarthy boys match. That must have been quite a high standard, because they're into the 18th frame already. Liam White's now gone ahead against Sean Chipperfield. I've been practicing quite a lot with Liam over. Well, I haven't played too much the last few weeks, but certainly the last few months. I've been playing quite a bit with him he's been playing me at the Chinese 8-ball once or twice a week, and he's a good little player, and he's got a table at home, so he's on the table more than the cloth, to be honest. And it's no shock that he started to get the results. For someone that's really, really short in height, he has got an unbelievably big break. It just goes to show that it's about technique and timing. But if anyone out there wanting to get any tips on the breaking on an English 8-ball table, you wouldn't go too far wrong watching Liam White. He sort of dips his body out of the way and really drives his shoulder through the shot, and does create an unbelievable amount of power. You wouldn't go too far wrong watching Tom Cousins either.
Yeah, similarly, Phil Harrison, he kind of lifts his head slightly, doesn't he, to make some room and get that shoulder through.
Phil Harrison's got like almost a swaying forwards and backwards motion when he breaks, so he's almost transferring his body weight. You can almost see him moving forwards, and so on the backswing he almost leans back, and then on the follow through he almost leans forward and does a bit of a swaying motion. That's how he creates his power.
Talking of Phil, there he is.
I'm talking of another big breaker in Scott Gillespie, and that's been the key to a lot of his success. Obviously last season had an unbelievable season, and you can't have those unbelievable seasons unless you've got a good break.
When McCarthy's just got across the line, he's 11-7. He won that game 11-7, should I say. Frame 14, you hear the referee call. Jake to break. And it's dry. And Reds are all there. He's got an opener long to bottom right. think they afford a slightly better map. Tom agrees. He takes reds. Looking to get that one stray ball at the top of the table off, so he can start working back down the table. Times that well, effortlessly screws back down.
Good point, Nick. He timed it well, and if you noticed on that shot, as he pulled the cue back, he opened his hand and released all of his fingers off the back of the cue, and then gripped it on the way through. Hence why, as you said, he got a lot of action by hitting it softly. Obviously, the benefit of that is the softer you hit it, the bigger the pocket plays. Exactly what Tom would have wanted to get back into the match, because quite a big frame for him this. You don't want to be 8-6 behind, so to have a finish like this is what you want, just to settle you back in.
Number 15, Tom Cousins to break. 7 frames all. Time running.
You see another big break, but didn't hit the front ball flush. As you can see, the cue ball bounced off to the left-hand side. Doesn't matter how well or how hard you hit them. You're never guaranteed to make a ball. And what makes this so difficult now is because he can't play the yellow onto the red the first shot, so he's going to have to go yellows. Otherwise, he would have gone reds. If he was to play the yellow onto the red first shot, that would just be loss of turn, so you can actually play it. It's not a foul, it's just loss of turn. Yeah, slightly unlucky not to land on that, but can he get to the potting angle to pot the one into the left corner? Because if he can, he's got the perfect angle to cannon into his bad ball. Don't think he can, no. But, oh, well, I was just going to say, there's no let up on the attack in front from either of these, and he's been so unlucky where he's pushed the red there, because Tom can pot this red into the middle and pot the one to the left corner and just flick the yellow away to free his bad ball, and then they all go. So questionable should he have been playing the double from there, but he could have just doubled it over the pocket. But even so, it was very unlucky for it to finish there.
Already through Declan Brennan, Ronan McCarthy, Jack Whelan, Conor Donahue, and just walked past the Phil Harrison Jordan Shepherd game as Jordan potted a fantastic black to pull back within one frame, but Phil Harrison did break off in the next one and made a ball, and it's an open table, so expect Phil to get on the hill fairly soon. All these games really starting to heat up now in this round.
Good pot. Definitely one of his major strengths, along with his break, is his single ball potting. That gets him out of trouble a lot of the time, and it did there. Because the shot before, when he played the cannon, he needed to play it with a lot of right-hand side, so when the cue ball made contact with the yellow, it just spun away from the red. He didn't play it with any side, hence why he stuck on it and had to pot that long ball. Threaded it through a nice gap there. Wanted to take that one away because didn't want to have to be doing miles with the cue ball up and down the table. Just clearing the areas out of the way, and he'll now leave the one on the top rail to last. Won't want to be straight on the one across the top rail. Just want maybe an inch off the top cushion. Exactly like that. That time didn't hit it thick. And just like that, he's read a couple of frames off and takes the lead again. Obviously mistakes at this part of the match get emphasised even more now because it's getting to the nitty-gritty end, and you always tend to remember any mistakes that get made towards the end of the match. Jamie Burnett and Petty are now 9 each. Never actually watched Jamie Burnett play a single frame, but he can obviously play because he's entering a lot of tournaments and he's beating some top players. So
yeah, he played on the main arena table last night, put in a really good performance, showing his class.
We have a hill match. Liam White against Chipperfield, and if that is Liam White's break, then I would have him down as a heavy favourite because he has got a big break, to be fair, as Sean Chipperfield. So I think that all depends on who's breaking in that match. Neil Raybone 9-5 against Gary Clark. Hot Boyle Darren McVicker looks like it's going the distance at 8-all. A little bit smelly. Yeah.
There's no way to talk about Paul.
Yeah, I think he has the option to go reds, and well, I was going to say he had the option to pot the red into the corner. and knock his bad ball off, but he's left the angle here. He wants to attack the bad balls down the right-hand side of the table first. Well, he didn't play to hit that ball first, so he'll definitely take this. He just snicked the wrong red on the way off the top cushion. Played to hit the bad one directly, but sort of everything moved there, and well, he'll be over the moon with how that's finished. He has the option to screw up into bulk now if he wants, and play the one next to the black and kick his bad ball off the rail. The red that's closest to us on the screen here is the one that's just causing him a bit of a headache. And he has played my shot there, look, and he's played it perfect.
Yeah, the beauty of this is he can play it to nudge the one off the rail, and he doesn't need to land on the one. He's always going to be on the, always going to be on the one to bottom right.
I love the way he played that.
Yeah.
Purposely played cushion first at a pace that he was never going to push the red any further than the middle pocket, so a really, really well controlled shot there. I'd either hit it full ball, you're right, then the cue ball would have stuck on the rail. And this is good because he's straight, so he can screw back. Needs to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want the cue ball on the side rail because then it's difficult to get back to the black. He wants to be pretty straight on the red. Maybe you can use screwing on and off the top cushion. Sorry, on and off the side cushion. Might be easier to control it like that. Oh, he got it into the wrong side of the pocket there. Is that okay? Can he just screw back inside the yellows? I think he can. Wow, he's got his arms crossed as though he's not sure. I think he can just pinch that inside those two, because as long as he misses those two yellows that are inside on the middle of the table, then anywhere near that right side cushion, and he pots the black. What he's concerned about is he doesn't want to pinch too much of the pocket and hit the red too thick. He doesn't want to get it too thin and hit the yellows in the middle of the table, so I think he's okay. This is one of those shots where you've just got to time it well. Well, he did hit those yellows in the middle of the table, and he'll be happy with that result.
Frame number 17, Tom Cousins to break, leading 9 frames to 7, time running.
Greg Batten wrapped up in his coat as he's wandering past to catch the score. He's doing the commentary over on table 11. Must be feeling the cold today. That game between Phil Harrison, I'm still keeping a close eye on. It's still 9-8.
So he obviously didn't clear.
No.
And what's Liam White? Is that still 10 each?
10 each, yeah.
And it was Chipperfield's break, as George just informed me. I don't know if he made a ball or not, but I did say whoever was breaking in that deciding frame would be a big favourite. Given how quick that he plays, it probably tells me that he didn't make a ball,
yeah.
Otherwise it probably would have been over by now. When we show you the other camera angle, like that one, you can see who's at the table and who isn't in a lot of the matches. Look, you can see that Mark Boyle is at the table there on table 5, and Gaz Ibbott's at the table there on table 4.
Oh, there's no one at the table. I was just looking to see whether it was Phil or Jordan at the table, but it must.
So Phil's just been for a toilet break.
Yeah,
so
they
finished the frame, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether. Oh, it's just clicked over to Phil, so he's 10-8. He must have won that frame, and he's now on the hill against Sheppy. Sheppy with that uphill battle if he wants to come back into that one.
Tom played a good first shot and potted the red into the middle and flicked the red over the corner, but he then missed the long one. But he's been very fortunate where he's left the cue ball, and fortunate where the red that he missed has gone. I think the shot is he needs to play the yellow off the top cushion and half ball off the back of the red to push the red up the side cushion and get the yellow over the pocket, I think. Exactly like that. Exactly like that. But at these rules, it's not as good as it might first seem, because Tom can play red onto yellow and just leave it over the pocket, and that's loss of turn. Has the option of snicking off the red, of course, and potting it with the white. But he's playing it onto it because he wants to cover the pocket. Well, he's potted it and it's gone in. What about that? We've had two good. He did play the skill shot, knowing that if it stays over the pocket, then look at the position he would have left the yellows. If the skill shot goes in, it's a bonus. So we'll get another look at this. At this angle, he has to hit this so clean in the middle of the yellow for that to go in. We've seen two unbelievable skill shots in this match. And he's had a bonus because he's knocked the black in a place where he's left it perfect for the one over the middle to be his last ball.
Yeah, so seen a few times now in the last couple of days where you can play that skill shot as a bit of a shot to nothing, and that was another great example of it. What a great shot he's played.
And he's played it well. I was just going to say he's played a good. He wanted to make sure he got an angle on this one to stun over to the side cushion, and if he hasn't, that's a pretty poor shot. May have to take the one over the middle now, you know. No, he's taking the awkward one because he wants to leave that one over the middle till last, so he can just play this with some right hand side. Well played.
Very nice.
And in all fairness, since being 7-6 up, Jake hasn't really had anything to go at.
So Sean Chipperfield won that deciding frame against Liam White.
Yeah, and a big match because obviously... Oh, just pulled up enough. I wondered if he had a bit too much angle on that, where he would have just played it a bit harder and just bumped into the black and pushed it a little bit further up the cushion.
Oh,
I think he'd have wished he'd have done that now.
Shows the fine margins. I mean, Can he just still snick this one? Another quarter of an inch closer, and he had no shot whatsoever.
Yeah, he can, and where those two yellows are, as long as he gets it over the pocket, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Good shot.
As I say, even a eighth of a turn of the cue ball, and he probably had no shot whatsoever. But Potterly does, and he moves himself onto the hill. He's now 10 frames to 7. So lots and lots of games drawing to a conclusion. Rob Charlton 8-4 up against Lee Clough. Neil Raybone's on the hill versus Gary Clark. Mark Ball's on the hill versus Darren McVicker. Alex Bailey's on the hill versus Oren Hughes. Phil Harrison on the hill against Jordan Shepherd. Rob Warren is there against Ryan Pisani, 10-9. Jamie Burnett on the hill against Steve Petty. One of the games just clicks over to a conclusion. Phil Harrison has beaten Jordan Shepherd 11 frames to 8. And that psychological edge over Jordan continues. Beat him a few times recently.
I did watch a bit of Phil yesterday when he played against Marsh, and I have to say he did look very good. He looked, his cue ball control looked very good, his patterns looked very good, and he looked quite comfortable and relaxed around the table, so don't be surprised to see Phil at the back end of this tournament, because he did look good to me yesterday.
It's ominous, isn't it? I mean, I was talking to him before this game started, and he tried telling me that he's having no time to practice, and his potting's not what it should be, so he's having to keep real close control, otherwise he gets in trouble. And it's like, Phil, I'm not having it.
No,
I mean, he doesn't miss pots.
No,
so to say.
Don't listen to what Phil says, because Phil Harrison does practice, and Phil Harrison does play a lot of tournaments, and Phil Harrison is obviously he's an all-time great, isn't he? And he is one of those players that does like to he does play things down, and
Yeah.
you know, the way he plays is when he's absolutely perfect, he's shaking his head, and he's just that type of guy. But make no mistakes, Phil Harrison is the favourite, or one of the favourites, in any tournament he plays.
Do you think Phil has the belief in himself, or do you think he lacks a little bit of that belief sometimes? It fills with all those kind of nuances when he's shaking his head and all this kind of stuff. And whenever you're talking to him, he's always playing himself down. Does he really know how good he is?
He does, and I think that the playing yourself down part of it is the way of deflecting the pressure.
Yeah.
That's what I think he does, firstly. I think you're right, he did used to have self-belief and confidence problems. Certainly when I was playing English 8-ball, he did, and he always had a bit of the thing on his back of being almost the bridesmaid. He was always there and thereabouts in all of the big events, but never used to win, certainly many of the majors, where all that's changed now. He's he is a prolific winner. He used to be a prolific sort of quarters and semis, hence why he did get that bit of a nickname, but well, that's certainly changed now. He's a prolific winner. And
do you think, if anything, the one place he's underachieved is in World Championship titles? You expect Phil Harrison to have 3 or 4 really, but is it just because Mick's always there and Mick's there?
Well, he has got a couple, hasn't he? And
he's got one.
He's got one, has he? Right. And he's lost in, what is it, 3 finals?
Yeah.
He lost in a final to Adam, which you'd perhaps expect him. He should have won that match.
Yeah.
You know, that's one he'll probably look back on. Obviously, he's ran into Mick a couple of times, hasn't he? He's beat Mick in one of the finals. And of the earlier years, you're right, it was that he used to struggle in the World Championships a little bit, maybe because of self-belief. But I think all that's gone now, and look, there's no substitute for winning. You know, your confidence comes from winning. It doesn't matter what you think, what someone else tells you, how good you are. You don't get that confidence from anything else other than when you're winning.
Yeah.
You know, the confidence breeds winning, hence, like, look what's happening to Jack Whelan at the minute.
Yeah.
And it's no shock that players do go on purple spells, and when they win, they then win the next event or pop up later on in the next event. It's all just from confidence, and the confidence comes from winning. And I think that's exactly what's happened with Phil Harrison now. And just as we've said that's exactly what's happened in this match, really, with Tom Cousins. from 7-6, he's looked like a different player, and his confidence has just grown. His cue ball control's been better, and you'd have to say from 7-6, it's been a really, really good performance, and really unlucky from Jake's point of view. From 7-6, he really didn't have much to go out other than maybe missed a ball there in that last frame, but you have to say a really good performance from Tom. Being ultra critical, you could say Jake maybe should have had the match sort of out of sight for Tom earlier on, and when you're playing against a great player, if you don't punish early on, that is generally what happens.
Yeah, indeed. So it's Tom Cousins that is victor. Jake McCartney will head across to the losers section. He's not out by any stretch of the imagination. He will still feature heavily. If you want to keep up to date with any of the scores, you'll find them on qscore.com. We will try and catch up with Tom and get him into the interview room, but as I say, you'll probably see his the back of his heels going up the stairs as we are speaking. So if we can catch him, we will. Oh, we've got him in somehow. They've managed to nail him down. So we'll catch up with Tom in the interview room. And we'll be back with you with the losers round 2, which is some of the games are getting underway. I can't imagine it's going to be very long before. And we have Manchid Omar versus Jimmy Croxton coming to you after this interview. Speak again soon.
Okay, so into the interview with the winning player of that match, Tom. You struggled a little bit at the start of the match, but come good at the end.
Yeah, I couldn't get used to the table, to be honest with you. And struggled with my break, so...
Yeah, I think you're hitting him well. You know, the way that you broke is, obviously that's a big weapon of yours always, and you know, you've arguably got one of the best breaks of all time, and you still hit the break great in that match, although you weren't making a ball. Obviously there's no guarantee you're going to make one, but when you hit them like you do, that's just giving yourself the best chance.
Yeah, that's right. It was splitting everywhere, just nothing going down.
And I feel as though he perhaps let you off the hook a little bit at the start of the match. You were 2-1 up, and he probably should have been 3-0. So
yeah, definitely.
Obviously he needs to sort of be out of sight early on, I think, for him to have a chance of winning the match. But having said that, from 7-6 down, you didn't really make a mistake, and he really didn't do anything wrong.
No, I just thought I'd just got to get on with it now and try and speed up a little bit and just put balls, and I did.
Yeah, I mean, to me, from 7-6, you just looked like a different player. You obviously said to yourself, right, that's what I need to play a little bit quicker, maybe be a little bit more positive, and you did look like a complete different player from 7-6.
Yeah.
Granted, you got the chances to do that, but, you know, you did look a lot more comfortable from 7-6.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that was the first time I was behind in a match, and I thought I shouldn't be behind, and just get on with it now.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, we've got a little man here, my son, Harrison, wants to ask you a couple of questions. Harrison, what's your first question?
Did you know that you were going to win the series at the start?
Of the match.
I'll win the match. I thought I would win it because I've been practicing a bit and playing alright, but I didn't play too well there.
You played great, but how would you feel if you were to win the series?
If I won the tournament, yeah, I'd be quite happy about that, to be honest. Yeah, especially after that performance.
Okay, any more questions, son?
No.
He says he'll give you £10 if he wins. How's that?
Yeah, if I win, I'll give you a tenner.
Yeah.
Shake on it because.
Yeah, we want it on camera.
Okay, well done, Harrison. And Tom, again, well done. I know you started off slow, but I think, all the top players find a way to win, and you certainly did that.
Cheers, Lee.
Okay, you've got one more match to have a chance to get through to the winner's side. Have you looked at your draw? Do you know if you have?
Petty or Jamie Bennett?
Yeah, I think it was 10-9 to Jamie at the time.
Was it?
So that'd be another good match, whoever wins that. So, okay, that's the interview's done. Thanks very much. Thanks to Harrison for his first interview. Well done, son.
Thank you.
You're
Cheers,
welcome. And we'll get on to the next session in a few minutes' time.